Welcome. Today with me is Xeaira from GReminders. GReminders is a scheduling platform that helps you never miss an appointment again. And why we've invited Xeaira to join us is GReminders is a little bit different. They've done some extra integrations with things like Redtail and Wealthbox. So they're a little bit more dialed into our industry, including some of the compliance requirements around texting and others. So Xeaira, welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. I'm really excited to kind of jump in and take us through the platform. I'll just run through a quick deck, and then I can kind of show you where some stuff lives and show you around the product. And yeah, we can just kind of go from there.
Cool. Sounds good. Let's see the deck in the background.
All right. So we are GReminders. We are an automated scheduling and reminders platform built for advisors. We aim to limit human error, streamline and increase productivity, and just, of course, reduce no-shows in your practice. My name is Xeaira Burkett. I'm the Partner Relationship Manager with GReminders. A little background on me, I also come from the financial services industry. I was a marketing director for a number of years, so I'm familiar with a lot of the pain points advisors and operations team members may be experiencing when it comes to scheduling and follow-up. I've built many advisory CRM databases across multiple platforms like Redtail, Wealthbox, and HubSpot. So needless to say, I'm really excited to show you how beneficial GReminders and the integration with those major CRMs can be for your business. So how does GReminders fit into the financial services industry, and where did we start out? So in 2018, we saw a niche in the marketplace because Google had stopped offering text reminders. The G in GReminders was really meant to stand for Google, as in Google Reminders initially, since they had stopped offering those text reminders. And we really only offered reminders on the Google Calendar in the beginning stages. But it really didn't take long for us to begin offering reminders for Outlook and then just online scheduling in general. So from there, it seemed like this natural progression to move into the financial services industry as we saw this need becoming greater for advisors. We started working with Redtail to develop an integration, and then we added Wealthbox. And the response we received really confirmed that this was the industry to focus on and tailor our product to. In 2022, we launched those integrations with those major CRMs, and we've really just continued to expand on those as well as quite a few others. G2 rated us in the top 100 fastest growing products in 2023. So we're super excited to share that, as it's a big accomplishment of ours and really what we view as a testament to tailoring the product to advisors and the return that we've seen from that as a whole. So enough with introductions and, plugging us a bit. Let's kind of jump into GReminders and how we integrate with your CRM. So how do we stand out from your current automated scheduling system? So for starters, from an automated scheduling perspective, and we'll talk about reminders or the reminder aspect of it in just a minute, we're the only one with a direct integration to both Redtail and Wealthbox, offering a two-way sync between your calendar and CRM. So unlike other systems, we automate workflows in Redtail and Wealthbox, while Redtail's automations require manual triggers for activity templates. GReminders automates the launching of those activity templates, so you no longer have to manually launch those when trying to work through your operational processes. We also update contact information and add new contacts to your CRM when appointments are scheduled. We write to UDFs and custom fields. We integrate with your calendar, be it the Redtail calendar, Google, or Microsoft. There's also no need for Zapier. GReminders is direct, customizable, and we operate all within the background of your CRM. So, what does it mean to truly directly integrate? I think that this puts a really good visual to how confusing other automated scheduling platforms can be when we're trying to integrate them into our CRM. If you're using other automated scheduling tools, you're likely relying on Zaps to achieve that full automation. So while other systems allow clients to choose meeting types, which is exactly why we seek automated scheduling, The process typically requires setting up Zaps to reflect all of those changes in the CRM. So without Zapier, those essential actions like creating activities, adding contacts, launching workflows, they all remain unautomated. This really not only adds obvious complexity, but really you're incurring additional costs for another platform alongside that calendar management system and your CRM.
Yeah, and so some people might not be familiar with Zapier. I know a lot of people are, but for those that aren't, that's a middleware service that allows you to connect basically any cloud system to another cloud system. And to your point, you know, if you have to do lots and lots of integrations, Zapier can be great to help with that. But if your only integration is just to integrate your scheduling system, that is an additional cost that you know, as a percentage of the total subscription bill could be quite a bit if that's the only thing you're using it for.
That is such a good point. I think it's also, there's a lot of maintenance that can go into, you know, it's really great whenever you're saying if you've got multiple integrations that are kind of all flowing through there, because typically we do have our processes outlined. So maybe those aren't getting updated or major changes happening often. But from a scheduling standpoint, you're offering different kinds of meetings. Maybe you restructure the way you're doing your onboarding process. There are times that you need to kind of be able to jump in really quick, add this, and still be able to see it in your CRM. And so being able to shift away, at least automated scheduling from Zapier has, from what we've seen, been a huge time saver alone when, you know, you're making those changes operationally.
Yeah, I also didn't realize you guys did custom fields inside of Redtail as well. That is a plus, because everybody has their own. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, no, that's okay. I talk about that later, but you're right. Sure. Everybody has those really specific things, information that they want to collect. And yeah, we're trying to streamline that process, definitely. So to jump back in, this is what our direct integration looks like. So GReminders operates directly with your CRM at the organizational level. So as Jeff said, we're eliminating those unnecessary middlemen. So when you need to schedule, reschedule, cancel a meeting, it's all managed directly from your CRM and calendar. There's no need to send additional booking links or book through existing links or to reschedule or send another email. Instead, you're just simply making the changes on your calendar. If you have reminders set up with us, your client or prospect will receive confirmations of those changes for those scheduled, rescheduled, or canceled meetings. Okay, so to jump in, I do like to start with pointing out two major features that I see financial advisors taking advantage of the most when it comes to our platform, outside of the typical, here's a booking link, here's a reminder. These two really stand out. It's routing forms and bulk sends. So firstly, routing forms for advisories are really meant to cater to those that have practices that maybe have instances of multiple locations or advisors servicing really specific needs. Like there's something there that we need to route a prospect to, maybe a pre-qual, or route an existing client to the right advisor. So these forms utilize these pre-screening questions to ensure the routing of prospects and clients to the most suitable advisor. And you kind of see that here. We have these custom questions. These are also the things that you can collect the answers to this information and write that back to those UDFs and custom fields. So for example, certain advisors may handle exclusively Northeast clients, while others focus on Southwest clients. So this would be a typical use case for routing forms, or maybe they specialize in areas like Medicare or really specific account types that we want to shift prospects to and say, you know, this is what they're searching for, or maybe it's an age criteria, those kinds of instances for routing forms. We also have a bulk send feature, and this is going to streamline communication by enabling you to send emails and text messages to massive personalized lists. The process for this is as easy as it can be. You just export the list directly from your CRM, you input those emails and phone numbers into the bulk send feature and send out exactly what you need. So use cases for that. We see this most used for upcoming webinar invitations, maybe sending out annual review notifications to prompt clients to book those ARs. or even just reminding clients about crucial actions like making those qualified charitable distributions or alerting them it's time to take those RMDs.
So things
So
even outside of a meeting per se.
yes,
that
right.
you might need to just make
Just
sure
a
they're aware.
notification like, hey, be on the lookout. Somebody's going to be reaching out to you, you know, come Q4, things like that, that can be a bit more conversational, but keeping your clients informed. Both of these features are designed to, of course, streamline those major processes that can take a lot of time. I was just chatting with one of our users about how she utilizes the bulk send feature for ARs, and she was writing 100 emails a month to get people to book for the next month. For, you know, she manages all of her advisors' annual reviews. So that went from sending out 100 emails to one. So it's a really powerful tool. I always push it. I think it's an excellent feature that most often people don't really know that we have. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we do have the ability to map information back to the contact. And Jeff, we were talking about this earlier. So what you see here is an example in Redtail of how we do that. So GReminders maps information collected during scheduling to Redtail in user-defined fields. So the information you collect during scheduling or post-scheduled questions is written back to the contact. And as well as in Wealthbox, as long as you have a custom field or that UDF set up in your CRM with the information you want to collect, our system automatically does the work for you by inputting this information into your CRM, ensuring a streamlined process and accurate importing of valuable data. And it's very easy to set this up. This will be one of the things that I show you when we kind of jump into the platform and how easy it is to map those things. You can also decide how you want us to map that information. So you can obviously elect to have it not update at all, or you can update it if that field is blank on the contact card. And then of course, you can also just overwrite information. So maybe when we think about Medicare recipient, when they first come in for an introductory appointment, maybe that prospect isn't a Medicare recipient at that time. So when they answer that question, the answer is no. But when they come in for their annual review, by that time, maybe they are a Medicare recipient. We want that to be updated. Are we going to remember always to ask in the annual review? Maybe let's not even have to think about it. We ask them during scheduling, and then GReminders can update that information for you. So when you're pulling those Medicare recipient reports, it's always the correct information.
Is it just UDFs or is it any field on the contact record in Redtail?
Any contact. So contact details, and I'll run through this as well.
Okay.
First name, last name, email, address, and then any custom questions you have, those can also be obviously written back to the UDFs.
So people can also use this as almost like a new client onboarding tool.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because we're adding those contacts, right? If we see in your CRM that the contact doesn't exist, meaning we can't match the email, we'll add that contact for you and set that status in Redtail, Wealthbox to prospect. So that way, you know, oh, this is somebody that's new. They've never booked with me before. And then of course, if you've got those custom questions, those route to UDFs. So yeah, really, it's just meant to be like you're never really having to do much in your CRM when it comes to scheduling. When we're updating.
Yeah, but those are some examples of things you can do even outside of scheduling. Because I think sometimes I think of you guys in this kind of narrow scheduling lane, but there's actually a lot of other features that you can do with GReminders outside of just that narrow scheduling lane. And you guys are continuing to add more features since you're just really focused on the financial advisor niche or niche. To keep adding value to the product. So it's interesting. All right, keep going.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, I completely agree. And then just something to touch on, we do also offer similar capability with Salesforce, custom field names. So the mapping process, obviously for Salesforce, is highly robust. So if you do want to explore this further, you can schedule a demo with one of our team members to chat just by heading over to greminders.com and just select that book a demo. If you are a Salesforce user, the integration is extremely robust, but if I tried to cram it into this deck, we would be here all day. Okay, so jumping back on track, I spoke a bit about how we can automatically launch workflows against a contact when a meeting is scheduled. So we are able to launch one or more workflows against individual meeting types when scheduled with GReminders. So with Redtail, you're no longer really having to set up any sometimes tricky automation criteria. You simply just select the workflow that you'd like to launch, and we will do the work for you once that meeting is scheduled, linking the contact. And then, of course, if you have roles and teams built out in that workflow, those will all get sent to the right people, those tasks and steps. We can also do the same with Wealthbox. So current Wealthbox users, you're manually launching these workflows, which can lead to a lot of human error with obviously forgetting to launch them. And then before you know it, a process didn't get done and you are behind. With GReminders, same way. You just simply select the workflow that you'd like to launch, and we will do the work for you, launching those against your specific meeting types. Now, I also want to touch on activity templates in Redtail. Typically with smaller firms, we see that their operational processes may be mapped out in activity templates rather than building out an entire workflow. But for larger firms, maybe we want to trigger a few different activity templates in addition to the existing workflows surrounding a specific meeting type. This is possible with GReminders. You can set as few or as many activity templates and workflows when each meeting is scheduled through us. And I'll show you on the event type build out exactly how to do it and just how easy it is to, it's a drop-down menu. We just pull the templates and then you've got your full list. Okay, we have chatted about scheduling. We know how GReminders integrates from a scheduling standpoint. Let's talk about the reminders. So our current functionality includes the automated sending of reminders for those initial booking notifications, standard reminders for upcoming meetings, follow-ups post-meeting, reschedule notifications, and meeting cancellation notifications all automatically. What sets us apart here is that these reminders are not only extensively customizable, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. I have most advisors just copy pasting their current email templates into our reminders because it's that customizable. These reminders all write back to the contact card of your CRM. So as an advisor or operations team member, this ensures that you retain the ability to access that historical timeline effortlessly. Integration is key. As or for an advisor, staying informed of the latest correspondence with clients is crucial. The easiest way to stay on top of that, I think, as we all know, is reviewing the contact notes, and our system ensures that this process is streamlined and efficient. If it's not in the CRM, it didn't happen. And so I think that we are determined to make sure that we're not part of or contributing to that problem. Okay, so if you have confirmations, like confirmation notifications set up with us, when your client or prospect replies yes to your reminder or that appointment confirmation, we'll add a check mark to the calendar to show that they've confirmed. We want to reduce the amount of time it takes to make those day before confirmation calls. So this will drastically shorten that time since you're not having to call every single person on that list for the next day appointments. We also have this neat little talkback feature. So if you ask them to reply confirming that they'll be attending, you can create an automatic personalized message to thank them for confirming their appointment. Or alternatively, if they reply no, you can send them a message with a reschedule link so they can reschedule that meeting. We don't want you to lose with automated scheduling. We don't want you to lose the personability that you have with your prospects and clients or diminish that client experience in any way. So we're trying to create these small features to ensure that your clients still feel like they're getting that A-lister treatment or that they're texting their advisor. These are free-form text fields. You create the message. It's fully customizable. We've got all kinds of different things you can put in these messages, like those reschedule links, cancellation links, to make it as easy as possible for your client to feel like they're talking to you, but also to reschedule and schedule those meetings. Okay, speaking of rescheduling meetings, if you have reschedule notifications set up with us, you can automate a notification be sent to the client or prospect so they receive an email or text message alerting them that their meeting was rescheduled, which really just means one less click for you, or at its worst, an entire email. You're not having to send that anymore. So instead of rebooking the meeting, or like I said before, going through an existing booking link to reschedule that, you're just going to move that on your calendar as you would if it was an appointment you manually added. Our system will recognize that and then send them that personal message alerting them that there's been a change added to that meeting and it's been rescheduled.
Super cool.
We integrate with the most popular web video conferencing platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, and Skype. If you are collecting payments for your meetings, you can set up Stripe or Square to do so through each individual meeting type. We also integrate with VoIP office phone systems like Intulse, so you can use their tools and platforms with ours to make meeting locations easier for your clients to choose from. We also offer a weekly compliance digest. So this is a report of all reminder correspondence between our system and your clients and prospects. So if you have SMARSH or BCC archiving, this report is sent directly to your email, and it can be archived this way. If you're interested in learning more about this, I definitely suggest booking that more personalized demo so you can get a clearer understanding of all the ways that we're compliant, and that the ways that we work with compliance to ensure that you're up to code.
Yeah, I thought this was a big differentiator too with your platform versus others. Again, knowing specifically about our industry and some of the compliance requirements and helping to make that happen versus some of these features may be in other tools, but they're not done in a compliant fashion that makes it so that we can't use them in our industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, so feel free to take note. You can try our platform free for 7 days. You can create an event type, you can build out reminders, test it, see if you like it. And you can also schedule a much more personalized demo than this 30,000 foot view of our platform that I'm giving. We can apply our platform to your existing processes and see where we can automate or maybe fit into those to maximize the efficiency of your business. So I definitely recommend heading over to GReminders.com and signing up for that free trial or booking that free demo. But really, as I said, this is a very zoomed out version of the platform. So I'm going to jump in and we can I'll show you around and show you what it's like, and maybe we can go from there and have more of a conversation about it.
Cribs edition, you're going to take us inside.
That's right. Okay. Here we go. We're getting ready. So when you first log into GReminders, you're met with this landing page. Now, GReminders is a backend tool. While you do work in it occasionally, if you're changing your processes, or of course in the initial build out, you're going to be in it pretty extensively. But for the most part, we really would like you to be living out of your CRM and calendar. So this is not meant to be a space that you are living out of. You're not supposed to be using this as your calendar, to run your meetings from and run your day from. But what you can see here is this is just a really great place to check all of the meetings we're seeing on all of the calendars that you have integrated onto your platform under your specific user, which you can have up to 5 per user. This is also a good place to see our notifications being sent out against your meetings. So you can click into these and you can see all of the correspondence on has it been sent, is it scheduled, when's it going to go out, when's the meeting for, what the message says, what kind of message it is. So really it's just a good way to see what the system is doing. But this is not meant to be, this is what my day looks like by any means. So on our left-hand nav bar, we have a couple of different things. We have what you'll see here as reminders and scheduling, but then we also see where our event types and our client reminders. If you run down to management, you also see reminder templates and event type templates. And the intended purpose of these is to be able to template your GReminders platform. So whenever we have advisories that have, honestly, any more than one advisor, I definitely recommend templating your event types and your reminders. The reminders for their perspective, or from making sure that the message your business is sending out is consistent. So if you have a really in-depth introductory meeting email, you want to make sure that everybody's getting that no matter who they're booking with, right? Because that's pretty standard. We want to put our best face forward. So on that initial booking, thanks for scheduling your introductory appointment, it maybe needs to be something more than you have an appointment scheduled with Jeff, right? And so if Jeff's reminders say this, but Jim's reminders say something totally different, we want to make sure that we create continuity within our business and the message that we're sending out, as well as branding and who we are as a company. That also applies for event types. So obviously, maybe not every advisor is going to be taking the same kinds of meetings, and that's okay. However, I do still recommend templating them, because if you do grow and you do have more advisors come on, maybe they will be taking those specific kinds of event types, and having to build those out individually can be very cumbersome. So instead of building out 10 event types for 5 different advisors individually, so for like 50 event types, you just build them all once in your templates one time, and then you can just assign those to the correct advisor on who's going to take those meetings. And again, it creates continuity in your operational processes. What workflows are being fired off against those? What is their availability? When are you offering these meetings? What's the criteria of those meetings? Do you want your advisors taking 6 annual reviews a day? Probably not. So maybe we can say, let's reduce that to 3. So templates are just a really great way, in the same way that we look at workflow templates and activity type templates. They're just a way to keep our operational processes consistent. And I think really that's one of the most important things when you're integrating new tech, or you are trying to scrub through your CRM and, create these processes for your business. Okay, so all of that being said, let's show you a typical event type build out. So this at the very top is going to be all public facing information, and I'll show you what this viewing page will look like once we've built it. So the public name, this is what your client or prospect is going to see. The description, I typically see just a kind message, or don't forget to bring blah, blah, blah. And then this is customizable. You can make this say whatever you'd like. Typically for things like this, I might see like discovery meeting is the name of it, and then the URL is Dan's discovery, because it's Dan's meeting. Whatever. You can make it, as personalized as you want. I think that's really just for branding purpose. Okay, there's quite a few different location options here. It's very easy to add them. It's just a drop down. This is also the first place that we'll see potentially a variable. So variables in GReminders, they look a little bit daunting, but really they're just a way to template your build out. So what this says to our system is that we want to pull the client or prospect on this meeting type. We want to put their phone number as a way for us to call out to. So they're selecting they want a phone appointment, but it's not going to list the advisory's phone number, because we don't want our clients and prospects to call into us for meetings. We probably would like to call out to them. So that's kind of how those work. There's many different variables in this system, and definitely something that I would discuss much more granularly in a personalized demo. But they're just when you see them, just know it's just a way to template and for us to look in and pull different information. The calendar to create the event on, this is pretty straightforward. It will default to your primary calendar, which should be your work calendar, but you can change that very easily. And any calendar you have integrated will land here. The event bookings criteria. Now, this is going to look pretty similar to other automated scheduling software event booking criteria. There is, it's pretty straightforward. We want them to schedule within the next 10 days. Do we want to require a prior approval? How long is the meeting? When they receive the link, how soon can they book this kind of meeting? Are you ready in an hour when you send out this link, or do you need a couple days? You can let us optimize how it lands on your calendar. Do you want it on the hour, the half hour, the 15-minute mark, or up to 5-minute increments? And then, of course, the buffer between all of your meetings. So all of that is pretty standard. Where I want to talk about it being very robust, or specifically for financial advisors, I kind of brought it up earlier. This specific meeting type, the max number of this specific meeting type per day. So let's think like Redtail calendar, for instance, if we're working off the Redtail calendar. This list here, the type and category, will pull from activity type and activity category, those activity category lists. So if you have your types customized, they'll all land here automatically when you integrate your CRM. So if I say that I don't want to take more than 2 discovery meetings in a day, GReminders will look at your calendar, see that maybe 2 discovery meetings already exist on that day, and maybe that's the only appointments you have for that day. You have a full availability, but you don't want to take more than 2 a day. We won't allow that day to be booked externally. Now, you can, of course, add more manually on the back end if you wanted to, but it's really just a way to make sure that you're not overbooking or overextending yourself, or that your clients don't just have any amount of access to your calendar as they want. So I think that that's really powerful in being able to look and see what already exists, whether it was booked through GReminders or not. And then of course on our roadmap is also meeting categories. So that will open up the availability for Google and Outlook as well. And I would say within the next week or so, or by the time this recording comes out, probably already will be there. So you can also do that on Google and Outlook.
Cool.
Okay, so availability here, pretty straightforward. You can have your generic availability 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, or you can get pretty granular and do an availability range. I think what's typical, 8 to 12, we close for lunch, we open back up 1 to 5, or just specific start times, what is it, 9, 11, 1, and 3, right? And so those are the only times that'll be available on your calendar. You can also add specific days if you don't typically offer it on this day and you know you're going to be available that day, or of course block out days if you know you're going on vacation. That's a really great tool. Okay, we're finally here, our form questions. So this is where we're talking about mapping data back. So obviously we want to collect information. This is also where we're going to be adding our questions. Now there's 2 places to add these custom questions. Obviously when scheduling, we probably want at least the first name, last name, and maybe email. Sometimes phone number, sometimes street address. I think it just depends on the meeting. But maybe for an introductory meeting, we don't want to offer these kinds of questions, account specific, more personal questions, because that could potentially scare a prospect away from even scheduling on our calendar. So we offer the ability to put those in post-scheduled questions and make them more optional. That means that they have already scheduled with you, you've collected the initial contact information, they're on your calendar, and now, hey, do you mind telling us a little bit more about you? And then you have your questions there. All of those questions, whether in post-scheduled questions or the initial form questions, those are what's going to route back. Those answers are going to be routing back to custom fields in Wealthbox and UDFs in Redtail. The invite details, how is this event going to land on your calendar? This is also where we're going to see more variables. So GReminders tries to make it as easy as possible, and we give you available variables. It's just a drop-down list. You select which one you want. It inputs it automatically for you wherever your cursor is landed. So it's a really easy way to grab information like this and then just kind of input it all around the platform. Also a neat little feature that often gets overlooked. If you know for certain meeting types, you're going to want maybe your CSA or advisor's assistant on and in those meetings with you. Of course, we know they're excellent at managing our calendars and they always know what meetings we're having, and maybe this is not necessary, but I do see it being used. But basically what it is every time somebody schedules a discovery meeting, if I put my assistant or my CSA or operations team member, if they put their address, their email address in here, they'll automatically be added to that meeting. So it blocks their calendar and they can make sure that they're there. This is where you'll set up those payments. You can select your GReminders thank you page, or once they book with you, you can push them to any URL. I've seen people do this for questionnaires that they want people to fill out. They revert back to their website so they can watch an introductory video about their practice, but it's anything that you'd like. I just stick with the standard thank you page. And then last but not least, our workflows and our activity templates. So this is how easy it is. Whenever you integrate your CRM, your full template list will show up here, and then you select as many as you'd like to launch every time this meeting is scheduled.
Not just one, but any of them, or as
any of them,
one to many.
all of them.
Yeah.
Yes, as many as you need. So those working in tandem, when we speak about Redtail, those working in tandem between workflows and activity templates and being able to fire those off at the same time has been really great. And so of course you'll see also up here, same thing for Wealthbox. There are Wealthbox workflow templates as well. So when you build those will pull and we can set those as well. And then you'll save this. And then to see what our client or prospect sees based on my availability, I'm only available at 9 a.m. for a discovery meeting apparently. You will select the time, you'll input your information. Here's all of my answers. I can change these. I can select the location of my meeting. Do I agree? Sometimes people ask you to agree to the disclosure, things like that. And then you will schedule. and then it'll bring you to my GReminders thank you page. And then in Redtail, you'll start seeing all of these things fire off. So the initial booking confirmation will get added to the notes. If it's a new contact, that contact will be added. Those workflows and activity templates will be fired off. And so all of those things will begin to start happening. So that's it from scheduling. And you can template those. The template build outs look exactly the same. You can also, let's chit chat about client reminders. So we have client reminders and personal reminders. A little plug for the personal reminder. I use the heck out of those. I love being able to get a text at 9 a.m. and it's my whole calendar. Because I think also, part of it is like, it's sometimes cumbersome. We first look at our phone when we wake up. We go through our work calendar. It's been so great to, get a text message of what my day looks like. So as an advisor, I also see how great that might potentially be. You don't have to live out of your calendar in that regard, just to kind of see like a quick glance of what your day looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, but for client reminders, we have, as I said before, reminders, follow-ups, initial booking confirmations, reschedule confirmations, and cancellations. So you'll select the purpose here. We have all kinds of criteria to set reminders against. So best practice here is as a financial advisor, and let's speak specifically to like our onboarding process when we talk about like the prospect journey. I never recommend leaving criteria to all events because that is very generalized. That's going to make it seem like it's coming from an automated scheduling software. And I think we're trying to create a product and give you a product that's not the intention. We want it to seem like it's something a bit more personalized. So with that being said, for instance here, what I would do is I would set criteria by event title, contains the word or phrase, introductory, discovery, plan presentation, implementation, game plan, whatever your onboarding process looks like, closing, things like that. So we can recognize, oh, this is an introductory meeting. This is the reminder. This is the initial booking notification that needs to go out. You can also set, are we doing it email, text, or phone call? So phone call, I think we typically use that obviously for the reminders, like maybe 24 hours before. The texts and the emails really are just great for those initial bookings, reschedules, cancellations. They're pretty applicable across the board. But and then you'll see down here, you can change the email subject. The body is completely customizable. And then this is the other place that we see an even longer list of variables. And so definitely take a chance to peruse through here. You can even do like add to calendar links. You can offer those reschedule and cancellation links. Do you want to give them the ability to click the Zoom link immediately, like within that email? So
even questions. I saw even the questions on there, like custom questions.
So the answers to their questions, that's another thing that you can include. I probably see that most applicable to the personal reminders. Like maybe once we have an initial booking, we want to see everything that was collected whenever they booked. So we'd get that in a text or an email. And then just to show you what that looks like, this is what the reminder would be when they receive it based on all those variables. Okay, so then this is also where we can create that talkback feature. So let's just come from the perspective of texting. We set auto replies. Please reply yes to confirm or call us to reschedule. So if they say yes, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you. Don't forget to bring that piece of paper we talked about. That is really great. You can insert all of your variables there. Same thing with no. Okay, no worries. If you want, you can select this link here to reschedule, and we hope to see you soon. So that way it's not so much like, okay, please reschedule here. And, they kind of direct you to something a bit more robotic. And then the nickname is really just for internal management. So what I typically recommend for best practice here is to name it the full criteria of the meeting or of the reminder. So like if this is a reminder text 24 hours before the start time, I would say reminder 24 SMS. So that way to me, it says, oh, this is for this kind of meeting and we're going to do it this way. And so when those are done, they look like this. Now, the cool thing here is you can kind of manage what reminders are being used versus what aren't. What can we delete? What can we get rid of? What maybe isn't a meeting or reminder we're taking most often? Because we have things here. When was it last used? How many times was it used? Obviously, I use my initial, after something is booked, 5 minutes later, I get a text. So it's used 57 times a month ago was the last time. So it's just a really good way to keep on top of data and how you're using your platform. Okay, so reminders, scheduling. Let's chat. I think it'd be a good idea to talk about field mapping. So you'll go to integrations under your org settings. It's also important to note you can set permissions with GReminders. I never recommend everybody in your organization being an admin on this platform. That would be crazy. So I always recommend having like 1 or 2 max, and then everybody else just gets a standard user. So they'll be able to see reminders, scheduling, my contacts, and then they'll be able to see teams here under management. But from routing on, they won't be able to see any of those settings. So those templates, the integration settings, things like that, they won't be able to change from an organizational standpoint. Okay, so to jump back, what you'll do is go to integrations and click on your integrated CRM. And when we talk about field mapping, you'll scroll all the way to the bottom, and this is the same for Redtail or whichever other CRM you have integrated. And you'll see map fields. So this is how easy it is to map your fields from the form questions to those in your CRM. So obviously, we spoke about this. You can update this information. So if their phone number or their address has changed, you decide how you want that to talk to the system. Do you want to overwrite the existing value if they put in a new address, or do you only want to overwrite it if that field is blank? Now, I will say, use case for the address side, there is an automation in Redtail that if you change an address on the contact card, it can launch a workflow. I think typically we probably have an address change workflow that's pretty standard across the board because we're not just changing that in the CRM, it's everywhere. So that is a really great way that GReminders talks to the platform without actually us doing the launching, because Redtail will recognize that a new address or a change has been made to that address and then fire off that workflow for you. So I think clients are pretty notorious before they, we don't find out until the annual review that they've moved sometimes. And so then we're kind of having to do a bunch of retroactive work. Whereas if we knew when they scheduled the appointment a month ago for the annual review, we would have all of that updated and ready to kind of show them in that annual review. So it's just a really good way to foster that client experience, I feel like. So anyways, the fields. So you'll go in GReminders, I have a veteran status question, right? What is your veteran status? And then in Wealthbox, I also have a veteran status custom field. So I have my answers for my veteran status mapped out. Are they active duty? Are they a retiree? Are they a non-retiree, active duty? Whatever the field value is. And then you can decide, again, how that's going to update. Are we updating it if it's blank, or are we overwriting the existing value? And then you'll just make sure that you are saving that. And that's really it. That's all it takes to map those fields. It's pretty straightforward. Under management, that's where you're going to find routing. And I do want to show you kind of what a routing form looks like and how it works. So depending on how, and I'll have to remember my criteria on how I changed these to different advisors, but basically the way you answer these questions is going to be how you get routed to an advisor. So if I were to come in here and change this now to this, it'll bring me to a different advisor because the criteria I inputted changed. So routing forms are really great from a pre-qual perspective, I think. But then also they're really great for if you've got maybe like a meeting link embedded on your website for your clients to jump in and say like, oh, I need to meet with my advisor. What you can do is set up that routing form that you could just simply ask, have you met with an advisor before? If they say yes, you can list the advisors that they've met or, that are in your practice. They can select the one they've met with before or is their advisor. And then you can just route them right to that booking link rather than having all 8 advisors open booking links on the website. It can kind of just be reduced to 1. And then last but not least, that bulk send feature that I talked about. They're really straightforward. So you'll just name it something. Webinar is a good example, or maybe annual review. I want to send a text to my clients saying, hey, I need you to schedule your annual review for April. So I would paste all of the numbers that I exported from my CRM, and then I would just write that here. You also get more variables. So
Love our variables. Love them.
We love variables. So you can template that, and yeah, then you just schedule it. You decide when you want it to go out to them, to everybody in that list, and then you'll just schedule that. So it's very straightforward. There's not a whole lot that goes into it, but it is a lot happens because of it. So yeah, that's really the zoomed out airplane view of GReminders.
I feel like really there's a lot in there, right? So we talked about being able to put information out on a form for someone to fill out, to then create contact records or update contract records in your CRM, kick off workflows, schedule in your calendar, send out reminders, send out bulk reminders. It seems like there's a lot. And whether it's a phone call, an email, a text, I feel like you guys have really done a lot of integrations and do it in a compliant fashion.
Right, exactly, which I think is really the most important part. I don't think you'd be able to do half the stuff that we're doing on our platform if it, like, for advisors, if it wasn't compliant. And so that has always been kind of the forefront of, okay, let's build this tool, let's make this feature. How is this compliant? Is this going to be something they can actually use? It's great, but can they use it? So that's always been kind of number one. And then from there, the requests or the feature requests from advisors saying, hey, I really need this tool to be able to do something like this. Can it? And then us kind of looking inward and saying, okay, well, sort of, but maybe we should develop it to do exactly that, exactly what they're asking. And that's really where a lot of the features on our products have come from, is the request of advisors and saying, hey, this is how I kind of work my current scheduling. Can GReminders fit here? And if not, is that something that can be developed, for that? And really, I mean, I know every advisor is unique and we all do things differently. But typically we are still able to standardize those operational processes, and scheduling is part of that. So, yeah.
So Xeaira, you showed us a lot of information today, but like you said, everybody's a little bit different. If somebody wants to learn more or get their own demo, what's the best way for them to get started with GReminders?
Yes. So the easiest way is to just go to greminders.com. You see a big blue button, big green button. Try it for free. Sign up for a trial. When you do, one of our CSRs will be reaching out to you just to make sure that, are you set up on this trial as best as possible to really get the full effect and see how it's going to work for your practice. I showed you a lot. We don't just throw you out there and hope for the best and hope that that's going to be enough. So yes, definitely, please try it for free. Book a personalized demo. If you scroll down, you'll be able to, there's a big button there. You can book with one of our 3 awesome CSRs, Adam, Sandy, Serena. They are a wealth of knowledge. They have a million use cases, and they can totally take you through every possible issue you could have when it comes to scheduling and find a way for us to fit into it. So that way you can kind of become hands-off. There's really, there's no reason in 2024 that we are all still doing the, hey, this is the 4th time I've called you, just seeing if you still want to come in. That's tough. So I've been there. I was in the industry when that really was the standard. And so if I would have had something like this, I probably would have been out of a job, really, now that I think about it, because it would have saved such a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, awesome. Xeaira, thank you for taking time to show us GReminders today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. This was absolutely excellent. I love sitting down with you. And thanks for such a great conversation.
You too. All right, take care.
Thank you. Bye.